Hi people! Amidst the recent astonishing news about the fact that top-ranking national security officials used unclassified group chat on Signal to discuss the attack on Yemen, I thought to pay closer attention to details and define some key points and significance of this event beyond what has already been said through my own perspective. Why top-ranking US national security officials under Trump used an encrypted app like Signal to discuss classified military plans, specifically the bombing of Yemen. Given Trump's known ties to Russia, in fact that his appointed Middle East advisor was viewing messages or at least was on the thread while in Moscow, raises numerous questions like, was this a deliberate act of subversion orchestrated under the guise of incompetence, or was it the actual incompetence or something else? In a world where every action by top national security officials is carefully scrutinized, it seems unfathomable that senior members of Trump's administration would use Signal, an encrypted messaging app known for its ability to erase communications, to discuss classified military operations. Yet, that's exactly what happened. These actions don't just raise eyebrows, they violate the Espionage Act and federal records law, both designed to safeguard national security and ensure the preservation of critical government communications. So were they just careless, or was there something more happening beneath the surface? At first, the use of Signal by Trump's national security officials appears to be an egregious lapse in judgment. Encrypted apps like Signal are often used to prevent surveillance and ensure privacy, tools favored by activists, journalists, or even spies, for example. But for high-ranking US officials to use the platform for classified communications about military strikes suggests something completely out of the line. Consider this. Trump's appointed Middle East advisor was included in the chat and viewing encrypted messages directly from Moscow?
Did you know that the president's Middle East advisor was in Moscow on this thread while you were, as director of the CIA, participating in this thread? Were you aware of that?
This revelation should have set off alarms across the intelligence community, especially considering that CIA's director has been involved as well, but it did not. Instead, it was quietly swept under the rug. This discussion wasn't just about everyday operations. It involved highly sensitive plans to bomb Yemen, a geopolitical flashpoint in the Middle East. Sharing such information through untraceable means opens the possibility that classified details may have been intercepted or transmitted to foreign actors.
When Trump's advisor on the Middle East, Stephen Witkoff, was in Moscow and received messages on his mobile phone through the Signal app, his device was likely connected to the local mobile network infrastructure in Russia. Given that Russia's telecommunications systems are deeply integrated with System for Operative Investigative Activities, Russian law allows the FSB, Federal Security Service, to monitor and intercept communications, especially if they are of national interest. This results in the monitoring and interception of messages and metadata.
This way, this is most certain that Russia actually received an awesome opportunity to gain insights into US military operations, allowing them to predict and potentially counter US strategy in the region. Even considering that American promotion of unstable environment in Yemen also aligns with Moscow's objectives, Russia could still greatly benefit from possessing this info ahead of time. Now, back to the use of Signal. It's easy to dismiss the use of Signal by Trump's team as a blunder. However, this wasn't an isolated incident. Throughout Trump's second presidency, his administration demonstrated a consistent pattern of avoiding oversight, bypassing established protocols, and shielding sensitive information from scrutiny. Seems like their repeated disregard for established security protocols pointed them to a belief that they were untouchable, that no one would dare challenge their actions even if caught. What is more disturbing is how closely this aligns with Russian intelligence tactics. The KGB playbook has long relied on the use of encrypted communications, plausible deniability, and creating chaos to undermine adversaries. Just as Russian operatives use encrypted messaging to conceal operations, Trump's officials unfortunately mirrored this behavior, using Signal to ensure that critical information remained hidden. This is an attempt to avoid additional oversight and breach of security protocol. But what if they are not the only ones to blame? Think about it. Russia thrives on instability. By influencing US actions in Yemen, Moscow indirectly advanced its interests by prolonging regional instability and weakening US alliances. However, the importance of secure communications should not be overlooked by any means here. At this point, I think it's obvious that Russian intel actually took the opportunity to gain the access to the US communications. But what if they used it to cover a broader spectrum of objectives by actually adding the journalists to the chat or somehow contributing to this initiative? Crazy, but it would actually make sense and explain everything. The inclusion of a journalist would suggest internal chaos, overconfidence, and competing agendas. Russia would obviously benefit from the US internal conflict. They might have used their chances to make it happen. This isn't coincidence. This is by design.
The current administration has to realize that they have to change their approach. They risk to create a dangerous legacy because betting on Putin is wrong in the core. Trump's team can find themselves normalizing tactics more commonly associated with hostile regimes. Specifically, that one of Russia. Encryption, plausible deniability, and concealing critical information from public oversight. And now once they settle on this path, I'm afraid they may have gotten into their own trap. The consequences can be inevitable. By sowing chaos and discrediting dissent, Trump's legacy leaves behind a nation deeply polarized and vulnerable to external exploitation, especially without the Neurosecurity Act in place. If we don't acknowledge the real threat posed by Russia, we risk losing control not just over our national security, but over the very foundations of democracy itself.